And he's also a clinical professor at the University of South Dakota Sanford School of Medicine. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Joan. So what was that fabulous singer that was just on before we came on?
Sam Cooke?
What a fabulous musician.
But what a strange life story he had.
What was that?
Well, he
story?
was a gospel singer to start with. He sang with a group called the Soul Stirrers, and he thought, I can't make any money doing this, so I'm going to cross over and be an R&B guy. And he was extremely popular. Shot to death, chasing a hooker through the lobby of a New York hotel who had stolen his pants. The night clerk drilled him. And that's how he managed.
The night clerk drilled him?
Who happened to be a lady of Filipino extraction, yeah.
He was chasing
A hooker who stole his pants.
So why did that person kill him?
Beats the dickens out of me. I guess the lady that he was chasing was screaming, and they thought that she was being attacked or someone. And anyway, yeah, isn't that sometimes
strange stories.
Reality is stranger than what you can write, isn't
Yes, it is, and that's
really is.
there it is.
But I do love Sam Cooke. He has a voice like no one else.
Oh man, I mean that last song. I mean he just lilted his way through the
He did. Lupton?
lilted his way through. Wah.
He's just got a great voice.
Yeah.
He really does.
Fabulous. Speaking of great voices, our Hopeful Spirit Chorale sang last night at a home. Actually, it was in an apartment complex, and the whole apartment complex, or many of them, were there. And I think we had 22 singers, and we sang a mixture. We didn't completely put away our Christmas music. We had some Christmas music.
Oh,
but,
it's still December. You could certainly keep
and,
singing Christmas
12
music.
Days of Christmas and all that, But, and then some hymns. Oh my gosh, that group sings well. It is such a joy to be in a group. And we're done, we started at 7 and we're done at 8. I mean, it's a quick little ditty, and it's just a gift. It's a gift back. And so anyway,
It's really a gift to the people that you bring that music to. I'm sure they just love it. Can't beat it.
It's the joy is in the giving. Let me put it that way. It's one of those deals. So and that's what this whole season is about. If you look at I talked with a friend on the internet this morning, a physician who had fought against incompetent and unjust physician who was out there and did his best to say, we have to police ourselves. This is bad. It's going on. You cannot continue. And the long and the short of it is, and I don't want to get into any of the politics, and I'm not going to give any names or anything, but my friend lost his job, moved to a different place, has another job. I mean, there's no problem with this guy. He's a competent physician. But he lost his retirement benefits, as he had to move because he spoke up against an established person who, and so, this happens, that a person who fights for doing the right thing sometimes gets it in the shorts. And I thought about this. It's really true. I mean, this is a very ethical person who fought to do the right thing and lost money out of the deal. And I said, gee, are you going to have enough money to retire eventually? Well, yes, he'll have plenty of money to retire, and he'll still do fine. Although he lost a significant chunk of change, of course. Well, do you sleep well at night? I mean, we need to stand for what is right, and you need to face it. And it isn't the money in life. I mean, of course, you need to have a certain amount of money to be able to survive and have food on the table, as my parents used to say. My dad would say, at least there's food on the table. And the point is that what matters in life, and it isn't collecting the most money. It's not selling your soul. You don't want to sell your soul. I mean, there it is. That's a real deal.
And he's sleeping much better knowing that he did not sell his soul. He
No.
stood up for what was right.
Yes, and so I think that's
Commendable.
That's commendable. And we need to, when you look at medicine in general, because this is the medical radio show, right? The there are always a bad apple. There's, no matter how good the collection of apples were that year, there can be a bad apple in every barrel. That's all there is to it. There's going to be bad apples. And we, as a profession of physicians, could and should do better at making sure that the apples are all good. And
You won't appreciate my grandson's comment.
What's
My
that?
grandson said, I got a joke, Grandma. What do you call the worst student with the worst grades in med school?
Doctor.
He thought it was really funny. I don't know. I bet you've heard that before, Doctor.
I've heard the last guy in class.
Last
The
guy in
very
class.
the very last
You
guy.
call him doctor.
You call him doctor.
Well, fortunately, in our town of Brookings, we have doctors that we're proud to call doctors, and I'm working with one of them, and we're going to take a break now, and we'll be back right after these words. Oh. Listening today, Dr. Holm is here ready to answer your questions, and you weren't aware of it, Dr. Holm, but before you came in, we got a call, and someone called and wanted to know, what do you think of people using mineral oil for intestinal lubricant?
Right. So that's a good, an important question. I have to say that mineral oil does work as a laxative. A lot of people for many years used mineral oil, oral mineral oil, drinking a tablespoon or two of mineral oil as a laxative. It's not absorbed, right? So it lubricates the GI tract. Problem is that people who started doing that, they started doing this in the 50s and 60s. I think it might have been earlier, but it's sort of like eating Vaseline or
Eating?
well, it's mineral oil.
Oh,
It's
I guess it is.
it's oil. It's maybe clarified, but it's not natural oil. It's mineral oil. It's made from gasoline or petroleum. It's petroleum.
Okay.
So, okay, but let me just say, I mean, it's purified and it doesn't seem to do too much except if you accidentally inhale it, and if you look at the people who are constipated, who are they? They're elderly people. And it's amazing the number of people who are elderly, even us young people occasionally, food will go down the wrong pipe. So what happens if mineral oil goes down the wrong pipe? It destroys the lung. It is toxic to the lung.
Ah.
And so although mineral oil can work, and you might, if you did it very, very carefully and you made sure that you didn't inhale it, many people do, but if you made sure you didn't, on a short-term basis, taking something that has been processed from oil from the ground that was originally, dinosaurs and ferns and all that, it's organic, but still in an indirect way, it's petroleum. The answer is, I wouldn't recommend it. And
Would
so
not.
I do not recommend it. It could work on a short-term basis, but there's danger, too much danger. And so my answer is, instead, Miralax. Miralax also, it sounds, if you look at it, like a mineral oil compound. The truth of the matter is it's safe, and it is an osmotic laxative, not a stimulant laxative. I'm in favor of osmotic laxatives. My favorite is stool softener 1 to 3 once or twice a day without laxative. They add a stimulant laxative with it sometimes Don't get the one that has a stimulant laxative in it. Not Colace Plus, not Surfact Plus, not
Forget the pluses.
forget the pluses. Just get Docusate sodium without Casanthrol, without Senna, without the stimulant laxative, and 1 to 3 once or twice a day. And if you're still having trouble, add Miralax, and that will make a rock have a bowel movement. You know what I mean? It just is.
It will move it.
It'll do
Well,
it.
I was sure you were going to say that the best thing is ground flaxseed, but you
Well,
didn't say that.
No, that's the order of my recommendation for constipation is number 1, a tablespoon of ground flaxseed every day. Number 2, the flaxseed and stool softener. Number 3, the flaxseed, stool softener, and Miralax in
Wow.
that order. I mean, you add the nice thing about flaxseed is it has oil in it, right? Eicosapentaenoic acid, right? It's got the mineral oil, kind of a
Part
thing
of the flaxseed.
in the flaxseed that's safe, and then you add the Docusate sodium, the stool softener, and if that's not enough, you add a rescue Miralax puriated, and get the generic Miralax.
This generic. I mean,
There's a
basically-
generic box. It's
Well, you can check at your pharmacy.
yeah. You go to the Miralax, and you right next to it is the
Just
is the
like
generic
Miralax. Okay, all right. Miralax, the stool softener, and ground flaxseed.
right. And
Okay.
boy, that
That
really
will
does
really
the
help.
trick.
Well, this is our day for calls. We had another call come in while you were discussing that, and this person would like to know about Benadryl and sleeping pills. Do you think it's safe or is it good to take Benadryl as a sleeping pill at night?
Right. And the answer is Benadryl is discouraged by the Beers list. Beers list is the list of drugs that should be avoided. It's made by a group of experts who've been drinking too much beer, I think, for the most part, because they disapprove of some of the medicines that I think are reasonable if used correctly. Because they don't add on the list many things that could be toxic to the elderly population. So they're saying these could be dangerous to the elderly, and Benadryl's on that list. Here's my experience with Benadryl. It's in almost every nighttime cold medicine. It's on, you get it added for Tylenol with Benadryl, and it's called nighttime, Tylenol PM.
Right.
If it isn't Benadryl, it's something very close to it. It's an antihistamine that makes you tired. And here's the expert opinion about the antihistamines as a regular pill. It is tachyphylactic. The word tachyphylactic, it means that it works the first time, it kind of works the second time, it's less effective the third time, it doesn't work on the fourth time, but if you stop it, then you have withdrawal problems. I mean, that's the other drugs that are tachyphylactic are heroin and all the narcotics, Valium and all of the benzodiazepines. All of those have withdrawal, pain with withdrawal, anxiety, withdrawal, and the stimulant laxatives are tachyphylactic. They work less and less effectively, and as you use them, and then when you stop them, you have withdrawal, constipation, for example. So that's why I avoid things that have tachyphylaxis. And so it is with Benadryl. It doesn't work every night. If you use it every night, it'll lose its effectiveness. If you use it once or twice a week, it's probably okay if you're careful. What else but it's better than the benzos is what my comment is. It's better than Ambien or any of the benzodiazepines that have severe withdrawal sleeplessness. So you can't get off of them. So what do I recommend? I think that the very best option of it is a prescription trazodone. And it is by nature a antidepressant in the antidepressant group in a higher dose. You use it at a relatively low dose, and it's safe in the nursing home for the people who are the most sensitive, that have the most problem with sleep. How about safe for people who are stressed and in their middle ages, or younger people who are, the most common cause of sleeplessness is depression, the side effect of trazodone is, it helps the depression. But that's not why I prescribe it. If I want an antidepressant, I use another medicine. But I use trazodone because it doesn't cause depression like the benzodiazepines. And it doesn't cause falling and lose its effectiveness like Benadryl. Now that was a long answer for a simple question, but
Well, it answered the question. So if this person is using Benadryl, maybe once or twice a week,
probably okay.
that might be all right. But don't think you're going to use it every night.
Right, it's not going to work every night. It'll lose its effect. Now, people who use Tylenol PM, quote unquote, get some effect because sometimes they're having aches and pains. They take a little Tylenol at night and then they do okay. The problem with Tylenol is that it is tachyphylactic for pain. People who have chronic pain syndrome have rebound pain when they don't take Tylenol. And so the migraine headache experts say Tylenol has more rebound headache problem than does ibuprofen, which surprises me because I had always thought that the non-steroidals were worse than the Tylenol, but Tylenol is tachyphylactic as well. So darn it, there's not a lot of good medicine for chronic pain. And certainly people who use Tylenol at night, sometimes one Tylenol or two Tylenol at night, well, that might be enough. That works okay. Pretty safe. Not a bad idea, but not a great idea because like everything, there's a complication with medicine.
Side effect.
I like here's the best medicine, a regular exercise program.
I know what the answer to that is.
Because that helps people sleep. If you're physically active, then you're tired at night and you go to sleep.
Good point. On that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after these words. Prairie Doc Radio, Dr. Rick Holm is here, ready to answer your questions of a medical nature. We appreciate the calls that have come in, 692-1430. We still have time to cover a few more calls before the half hour is out.
Can I wax a little bit more? Wax a little bit more on the word tachyphylactic or tachyphylaxis.
I don't remember you mentioning that word before.
Ever? You've never heard tachyphylactic?
Maybe you have, but it might have been in one ear and out the next.
Yeah, well, it means that you have losing effectiveness on a medication, and when you stop it, you have rebound whatever it is that you were using it for. The biggest example is narcotics. If you go up on to have a powerful effect for pain, oftentimes you have to gradually increase the medicine to keep it working. And if you're caring for a person terminal cancer, oftentimes we crank that pen medicine up and then it's not enough, so we go another level and then it's not enough and we go another level, knowing full well that they're on their dying days and we don't care. We just keep going on higher doses.
Keep them out of pain.
There is lower doses that you can maintain that seems to cut something. There's something more than just that tachyphylaxis, but still narcotics does it. Give you another example of one that I thought was kind of interesting, and that is caffeine. Sometimes you get used to it, right? You get used to it. I'll give you another example. Diuretics. Now, I have a ton of people on diuretics, and they work and they maintain. It's not completely tachyphylaxis, but I can tell you that if you stop a diuretic on a person whose blood pressure is getting lower, or who's no longer needs the diuretic, or who is going to use a support hose and like to get off the pills, and so you stop it. Occasionally I do that. They retain water for about 3 weeks until they get back into balance.
Because the medicine was making sure that they didn't retain water, and once they went off it,
Mhm.
it took a while for their whole system to balance back.
Right.
But it was safe.
It was safe and it works, but when you stop a diuretic, the body seems to hold on to it. I'll give you two more examples: vitamin C, and another example is Prilosec or omeprazole or Prevacid or all of the anti-acid medicines. So let's take vitamin C. Vitamin C is that particular entity that keeps you from getting what, Bob? If you're a sailor and there's problems.
Scurvy.
Scurvy, there it is, scurvy. So a person who's out on the ocean for too long and has no fruit and no vitamin C will get diarrhea, dementia, weakness, profound weakness, and you're not a very good fighter in the French or the Spanish Armada, right? You know, those particular sailors get pretty darn weak when they're vitamin C deficient and they have scurvy. So the people who figured that one out is from England, and those limeys, they kept from getting scurvy by taking a lime every week. I mean, it didn't take much vitamin C to prevent scurvy. They ruled
They ruled the world.
They ruled the
There you
world.
go.
They
Did.
took over the English,
Just
or
because of a little lime.
just a lime a week or so. So anyway, the point I'm making about vitamin C is, if you're taking vitamin C every day, every day, you know, your body doesn't have to work very hard to get the vitamin C because they've got tons of it coming in. All you need was a lime a week, right? So you don't need much unless you're trying to prevent urinary tract infections, which is another story. So people who are on vitamin C from me to acidify their urine so they don't get urinary infections is another story. But back to vitamin C. So if you're taking vitamin C every day and I'm going to get off of this, right? You stop vitamin C, there's data to show that in the next week or so, you'll get rebound scurvy. Even though you might be getting a fruit, you know, getting a lime every week, you haven't had to work for it. So it takes you about a month or so to rebound, to get back to grabbing onto the vitamin C that comes past your gut. You know what I mean? So my point is, tachyphylaxis is everywhere. You get adjusted. Your body adjusts to the environment in which it is. What is the next one? Omeprazole or Prilosec, the powerful proton pump inhibitors that prevent you from getting heartburn and reflux esophagitis. One of the most wonderful medicines that we've come upon that's able to help people who were, prior to this, disabled and couldn't eat, and the reflux brought on cancer of the esophagus, and all sorts of problems.
Things, right?
Horrible things. What a wonderful invention or discovery to know how to block the proton pumps that make acid and to decrease the acidity in the gut. But the interesting thing is, it's tachyphylactic. So what do I mean by that? So here's the story. People they were studying who had reflux, they had to study the people who didn't have reflux. So they studied all these people who had no problems whatsoever with heartburn or reflux or hyperacidity symptoms at all. They're doing fine. But they're on Prilosec for a period of a month, and no problem. So it's a placebo control to make sure that the omeprazole or Prilosec doesn't cause problems, right?
Got it.
They stop it, and they get reflux esophagitis and heartburn.
And never had it
And
before.
never had it before.
Just because they were taking the proton.
Pump inhibitor. Now, what does that mean? Okay, so I have a patient in the hospital comes in and they have severe burns, right? Or they're stressed out by a heart attack, or they're stressed out by pneumonia, or they're on all these drugs because you're trying to save them from this or that. And automatically in the hospital, many times people will put them on a proton pump inhibitor to keep them from having a stress ulcer, which can really happen, right? So they get better. Now they're on omeprazole or Prilosec or Prevacid or one of those. And, you send them home and stop the Prilosec. Boom, they have rebound hyperacidity. Or you don't stop the Prilosec. They're coming, why am I taking this drug? I mean, I'm on this drug and this drug, and I'm on too many drugs, let me just quit them. Okay, well, let's get off of Prilosec. I can tell you the answer. The answer is you have to taper very slowly so they don't get rebound hyperacidity. And the studies say, how long do you have to make that taper? And the answer is 3 months.
Months, really? And then you don't have that rebound. 3 months though, boy, that's a long time.
So the complexity of all of this makes you think, gotta be careful with medicines.
We're so fortunate to have the medicines we have, but also so frightened by them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to take a final break. We'll be back right after these words.
Clear.
Radio. I'm Joan Hogan. Rick Holm has been answering questions and telling us an awful lot about tachyphylaxis.
Yeah,
Is that right?
tachyphylaxis.
That's
yes.
it. Okay. Well, you learn something new every day, Dr. Holm. And listening to this show, I feel like I do learn something
Do
new
you?
every day. I do.
Wasn't that new? Hadn't you heard?
Yes.
You've heard that
Oh,
before.
you probably
hadn't you?
mentioned the term, but it just...
Bob, but you know everything. I mean,
No, I don't.
you don't?
Bob knows
I
so
know
much.
anaphylactic, but I don't recall.
Tachyphylaxis.
Yeah.
No, I don't either.
I can tell a quick anaphylactic story.
Oh,
and
we're
then-
dying to hear that one.
Go for it.
It's like a fast joke or whatever.
No.
No.
So what is it you call the guy? And never mind, that was.
Oh, that's it. Go for it, Rick. A
So,
good
so
anaphylactic
I'm
story.
attending in the walk-in clinic at Grady Hospital, and one of the interns, Bill Bria, who was in my barbershop quartet. We had a barbershop quartet back then. Bill Bria came running, told the nurse to go get the attending and get the crash cart because something's happening to his patient that he had just given a penicillin shot to. So the nurse comes running into my office and said, Dr. Holm, you better hurry because there's something happening over in Area C. So we ran over to Area C, and there is Bill Bria and the man laying down there flat on his back. It's interesting, the nurse had seen him sitting out in the waiting room, and he was kind of acting really weird, and she said, come in here and sit in this chair so I can watch you because you're acting funny. And then he sat down on the floor, sitting there on the floor. Something's wrong here. And then he's laying down on the floor. And I'm looking at him, and Bill's there, and we're getting an adrenaline shot because we think that this is an allergic reaction to penicillin. And the man got a weird look in his eye, and he looked over and he saw a wastebasket. So he sat up to vomit into the wastebasket. You could see he was losing it, right? And the moment he sat up, you could see the pressure. He's just like a draining right out of him. You know, it's sort of like the water draining out of something. Suddenly, he just turned white, and then slammed his head back on the
Passed
floor
out.
as he completely passed out.
Wow.
He had no blood pressure. We called him a code, and we dragged his body into one of the examining rooms, and began CPR and injected adrenaline under his tongue, because that's where you can get the adrenaline to his body fastest as you can. And then we gave him Benadryl, which was not effective because it doesn't have enough time to work. Tachyphylaxis doesn't work. And we started an IV fluid and got him back. And the next 2 weeks later, he came in and shook my hand and thanked me for
Saving his
saving
life.
his life.
But what was it?
Penicillin allergy, an
Really?
anaphylactic reaction to penicillin.
Isn't that amazing?
We used to give a lot of penicillin shots. That was the last time I ever allowed it in the clinic there, and last time I ever gave a penicillin shot. I am in a situation like that for a sore throat.
Dangerous thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have run out of time today, but we hope you've enjoyed our Prairie Doc radio program, and we'll listen again for Prairie Doc, brought to you by the Avera Medical Group Brookings. But it'll be next year that you bother listening to us.
Yes. So,
Happy New Year to all of you. This is our last program
Yeah.
of 2015.
well, Happy New Year to you, Joan, and to
Thank
Bob,
you.
and to all you out there, and Happy New Year and stay healthy this year, okay?
That's a good resolution.